Hello and welcome to module number 2, which is also the syllabus item 2 for the PeopleCert Scrum Master I certification training. This module is an introduction to the Scrum as an agile framework. You will have one exam question from this module, which means this is a short module. We begin with what is Scrum? Scrum is a framework within which people can address complex adaptive problems while productively and creatively delivering products of the highest possible value. This definition of Scrum has been taken from the Scrum Guide or the Definitive Guide to Scrum, the Rules of the Game, which is published by the Scrum Alliance and authored by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland, the two pioneers of Scrum. You must study this guide for the exam. It's a small book, 14 pages, and you need to download the most recent version, the 2020 version from the relevant website. And we are going to show you that website shortly. That website is listed in one of the forthcoming slides. Scrum originated as early as in the 1980s. Somewhere around 1986, there was an HBR article, the Harvard Business Review article, named as the New Product Development Game. This was published by Professors Hirotaka Takeuchi, who is from Harvard Business School, and Ikujiro Nonaka from Japan, who is a pioneer in knowledge management. They are also known as the godfathers of Scrum. And eventually in 1993, the first Scrum team was formed by Dr. Jeff Sutherland at Easel Corporation in the US. And the framework for Scrum was formalized in 1995 for the first time, wherein Jeff Sutherland, along with Ken Schwaber, created the Scrum Guide. Scrum is generally well suited for web design and mobile applications when it started, but eventually it has propagated even outside of the IT industry. A framework, by the way, means that not much is specified, but it must be devised by those using the framework. As Ken Schwaber said, he equated Scrum to the game of chess. You can read the official rule book for chess, the moves, the players, the sequences, scoring, etc. These are all specified as the rules of chess. You need to learn them, then only you can play chess. Similarly, Scrum is like that. Scrum is published, of course, and for the PeopleCert Scrum Master I exam, you have to go by the book, of course. But when you practice Scrum, it is not just about going by the book. You have to use Scrum depending on your situations. There may be different situations in your own environment, in your own Scrum projects. And that's why it is a framework rather than a fixed set of rules, though it may appear to be so. Some of the key characteristics of Scrum are, it is lightweight, meaning it is not process heavy. The Scrum Guide is very thin. It's just about 14 pages. However, a lot of literature has been written around Scrum, and many thick books from various excellent authors have been published on Scrum, which are much elaborate. Scrum is simple to understand. However, it is difficult to master. And that's because it requires a lot of practice. And from experience comes learning, and Scrum is something which has to be continuously improved. We now look at the 5 Scrum values. We will discuss the values in more detail in another module. But right now, let's know what these values are. C for courage, F for focus, O for openness, R for respect, and C for commitment. Sometimes it is abbreviated as CFORC, C-Force. Yeah? They also add another letter E at the end of C-Force to make it CFORCE. The last E stands for ethics. The successful use of Scrum depends on people becoming more proficient in living these 5 values. People personally commit to achieving the goals of the Scrum team. The Scrum team members have the courage to do the right thing and work on tough problems. Everyone focuses on the work of the sprint, which is one iteration at a time, and the goals of the Scrum team. The Scrum team and its stakeholders agree to be open about all the work and the challenges with performing the work. Scrum team members respect each other to be capable, independent people. You will find all this in the Scrum Guide. Many companies have benefited by using Scrum. These are just some of them, such as Microsoft, Google, Yahoo, GE, General Electric, Nokia, Capital One, Cisco, Lockheed Martin, and Motorola. Scrum has been used extensively worldwide to research and identify viable markets, technologies, and product capabilities. Also been used to develop products and enhancements. One of the most common uses of Scrum is to develop products. Scrum has also been used to release products and enhancements as frequently as many times per day, which is also known as continuous delivery and continuous deployment. It's also been used to develop and sustain cloud, the online, secure, on-demand, and other operational environments for product use, and not last but not the least, to sustain and renew products. This is where at the bottom of the slide you see the link to the Scrum Guide. You should be able to download the Scrum Guide from here anytime. Note that the Scrum Guide may be updated anytime by the authors from Scrum Alliance. Currently, they have the 2020 version available. Let's take a quick look at the website for the Scrum Guide at the Scrum Alliance site. They even have an audio version there and an interactive version. And from here, you will be able to download the Scrum Guide. For your convenience, I have highlighted towards the bottom from where you can view or download the 2020 Scrum Guide. This is the Scrum Guide when you download and view it. The Scrum Guide, the definitive guide to Scrum, the rules of the game. This is from November 2020, written by Ken Schwaber and Jeff Sutherland, the inventors of Scrum. It has the following sections: the purpose of the Scrum Guide, the Scrum definition, Scrum theory in brief, the three pillars, which are the transparency, inspection, and adaptation, Scrum values, Scrum team made up of developers, product owner, and the Scrum Master. And this course in particular, the PeopleCert Scrum Master I, is for the Scrum Master. Scrum events, the sprint, sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, sprint retrospective. Scrum artifacts such as the product backlog, sprint backlog, along with things such as product goal and sprint goal, increment with a definition of done, and a bit of history of the Scrum Guide. The Scrum Master has to understand Scrum deeply and thoroughly. Note the word master. It's not a Scrum manager or a Scrum process owner, it's a Scrum Master. So be sure to read the Scrum Guide a few times. It's one of the key references for the Scrum Master 1 exam. Apart from the one we saw before, Scrum for Dummies from Mark Layton. And now the key benefits of Scrum. Scrum offers a team-based approach to project work that allows a product development process to benefit from iterative self-reflection. Because there is iteration or evolution, there is time to reflect and learn and improve. Helps a team learn how to estimate their own ability to address unfamiliar tasks. Scrum is for complex products, where people can venture into something unfamiliar and start small or break down the big into small and start delivering them in small quantities. Complexity is broken down into smaller parts and delivered. Scrum exposes metrics about team effectiveness. It reveals the flaws of working. It encourages dialogue about feature implementation instead of static specifications. There's more focus on implementing features or functionality rather than trying to understand activities and informing stakeholders about the status of activities and their completion. While activities are essential, the Scrum focuses on the delivery of functionalities rather than just completion of activities. Scrum also supports a rapid response to changing market conditions in a sustainable manner. There's a link mentioned at the bottom, Power Up Your Team by Using Scrum Properly by David Green. When we go there, this is what we see here at sitepoint.com, power up your team by using Scrum properly. This is an extract taken from the book Scrum Novice to Ninja. You should read this. However, it is not one of the reference books for the exam. You can read it for your own interest. It takes you not only through the theory of Scrum, but also how Scrum is used in practicality, such as for internet website and mobile application development. So you'll find something really interesting in this Scrum book, Novice to Ninja. And that brings us to the end of module number 2, a brief introduction to Scrum. You should expect one exam question from this module. However, we will have a practice question at the end of module 3 because there's some information from module 3 you need to know to be able to attempt that question for module 2. And in fact, module 3 and 4 are combined syllabus areas. Therefore, we will do at the end of module 4 all the questions, about 10 to 11 questions combined from module number 2, module number 3, and module number 4. Note that module 3 and 4 have a large number of questions, as many as 10 questions, whereas module 2 has only one question in the exam.